Shocking.
All right, here he is, the governor of Connecticut, Dan Malloy.
Across the world, who we have heard from in the ensuing hours since this unspeakable and tragic event occurred here. As you know, there are a number of victims, teachers, support personnel in the building, and children, beautiful, beautiful children who had simply come to school to learn. And their day ended a very different way than any of us could possibly have imagined. And quite frankly, as we stand here today, still can't imagine what transpired there. Evil visited this community today. And it's too early to speak of recovery, but each parent, each sibling, each member of the family has to understand that Connecticut, we're all in this together. We'll do whatever we can to overcome this event. We will get through it, but this is a terrible time for this community and for these families. Our police personnel and others are doing the utmost to clear this situation as soon as possible and to return these children to their parents or these loved ones to their fellow loved ones as quickly as possible. And we'll work with all of the residents of this community and Connecticut to make sure that we do, in fact, get through this. I was mayor of Stamford on 9/11 when our state lost many of its citizens, and I lost a number of my fellow citizens and friends. I never thought that in a public career that I would have to face these kinds of circumstances, or that they would visit themselves upon this community or the people of Connecticut. We'll get through this, and our prayers at this time have to go out to the families. And so as I began by thanking those who have expressed their desires to be helpful, the number one way to be helpful is to say a prayer or send a best wish, or to be thinking of these individuals who have suffered so mightily today. Thank you.
That's the governor of Connecticut, Dan Malloy. I think we're going to be hearing from Lieutenant Paul Vance as well, from the Connecticut State Police. If he comes to those microphones, of course, we're anxious to hear what he says. It looks like he's not speaking over there, but we will continue to monitor what's going on. A horrific day in Connecticut as we're watching this story unfold. The breaking news continuing to explode, not only here in the United States, but around the world. We want to welcome our viewers from around the world. The state police lieutenant, Paul Vance, he tells me authorities are interviewing everyone who possibly had any connection to the suspected gunman. Kate Baldwin is here. She's helping us with our coverage as well. This is a story that continues to resonate for parents, grandparents, loved ones. Everyone knows kids, kindergartners, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. And a situation like this unfolds, it's hard to believe.
Everyone will be has been affected by this and will continue to be affected by this. I mean, the governor, I think, said it well and very simply put, that evil has visited that town today. I think that's absolutely at least one thing that we can all be sure of that has happened. Wolf, the investigation is unfolding. The grieving, though, is only beginning. A church vigil, many are underway and due to start soon in Newtown, where this tragedy has unfolded. Let's bring in our Jason Carroll, who is out on the ground there. Jason, are you at the site of the vigil?
That is correct. That vigil expected to take place just at about 7 o'clock here at St. Rose Lima Church. And a little earlier, I had the opportunity to speak to the deacon here. And it was a very emotional discussion. He told me that throughout the day, at least 100 people have come through the doors at the church here. trying to find peace, looking for answers, trying to find some sort of comfort. So he has been doing that throughout the day, and this is personal to him. It's personal to this community. He told me that a number of the victims went to church here. This is where these children had their first communion. This is where they sat in the pews with their parents and listened to sermons. He knew some of the victims, and he talked about that just a little earlier. Take a listen.
This is a very tight-knit community. It's a very large parish, a dynamic parish. Everybody knows everybody here. And I don't know for sure, but I'm sure that quite a few of the kids that we lost today are in this parish.
Was it Wolf? And I can also tell you that in terms of what people are asking there are lots of questions. They're asking questions. Why? Why did something like this happen? And he said because of the newness of it all, there's no way to try to answer that with something profound. But he did say this. He said, quote, there are some questions that are only meant for God to answer. And he said that is what he's telling people. Listen to a little bit more in terms of what he had to say about that.
I heard one of the victims, I'm not sure about it, but I heard that one of the victims recently, I think it was like birthday money. She gathered up her birthday money, her birthday gifts, and she donated it to the parish to give for the Hurricane Sandy victims. She's 6 years old. So that makes it very, very personal and very intimate.
And that was when he was telling me about a 6-year-old girl, one of the victims, he says, who went to this church. He used to look at this girl every Sunday. So you can imagine how painful it is for him, how painful it is for this community. Once again, the vigil is expected to take place here just at about 7 o'clock. When I asked what will be happening, he said this is unlike any vigil, obviously, they've ever had in the past, and so a lot of it's going to be off the cuff. He said there will be a mass. He said it's expected to last for about an hour. He said all we can continue to do throughout the night, throughout the coming days, throughout the coming weeks is be there to try to provide comfort to these grieving families.
Jason, I mean, it seems that the deacon himself is struggling for words and how to cope with this. Has he at all been contacted by any of the families, anyone from the school? I mean, it seems it is a very small community there.
He has been in contact with the families. Some of the other priests here have been down at the firehouse consoling the families throughout the day. And he has children himself, so this is personal for him. They did not go to this elementary school, but to another one. But he knew these children. He knew the faculty at the school. The faculty sat in these pews as well. And so not only does he have to provide comfort to some of the victims' families, but he also has to try and find understanding himself because, in his words, he's got to be the rock. He's got to be the person here providing the support, which is difficult for him. He said what he's going to do is he's going to take a little bit of a break, go home, hug his own daughter, give thanks, and come back and provide the support that is so badly needed here.
Yeah, being that rock, much easier said than done at a time like this when such unspeakable tragedy has hit such a small community. Jason Carroll, live outside where a vigil will be starting in just about an hour from now. Jason Carroll, thanks so much.
What a powerful, powerful report. Let me just remind our viewers what's going on for those who may just be tuning in. Around 9:40 a.m. this morning, a man went into a small elementary school in Newtown, Connecticut, and began killing people, 26 people altogether, 6 adults and 20 children. This is a small elementary school, the Sandy Hook Elementary School. Fewer than 600 children in that school. Only grades kindergarten through 4th grade inside. We have no idea the motive, what was behind what was going on. 26 people were killed, and then the shooter, we believe, killed himself. Separately, the mother of the shooter, we believe, was killed separately at a home not far away from this school. You're looking at live pictures coming in from Newtown, Connecticut right now. The police are continuing their investigation, and I suspect the Connecticut State Police will be briefing us fairly soon. These are pictures coming in from the Sandy Hook Elementary School. Susan Candiotti is on the scene for us, as she's been now for several hours. Update our viewers. What's the latest, Susan?
Well, the latest, Wolf, is that in addition to trying to piece all of this together to find out the motive, more about the shooter, we also understand that for a few hours now, police took into custody, or at least took someone in for questioning, someone who's been identified to us by sources as a brother of the dead shooter here involved in this school incident, the school shooting. And they're asking him questions about his brother. He is not being called a suspect at this time, but they do want to try to find out at the very minimum what information he may have about the dead gunman here at the school. Also trying to find out more about the mother of the shooter, who you know has been identified as a school teacher. And of course, she was found dead, we are told by sources, at a residence nearby the school here. So all of these pieces and parts of the puzzle being worked on at this moment by investigators to try to find out exactly what led into this and what the timeline was as well, Wolf. For example, was the mother shot before all of this began? We don't know. Wolf?
You can only imagine if the shooter, though, Susan, was found dead at the scene. No one shot him. We assume the shooter committed suicide, and all that took place between 9:30 and 10 a.m. or so, approximately 20 minutes or a half an hour. The assumption I have is that the shooter presumably killed his mother at the home before driving over to the school.
That's a fair assumption here, but no one officially is saying that. In fact, they haven't even officially released the name of the gunman in this case. We do know from sources they've recovered at least 3 weapons from the scene, 2 of them handguns, including a Glock and a Sig Sauer, and another one, a semi-automatic weapon identified as a .223 Bushmaster. We don't know how many bullets were fired. Of course, you've heard a number of witnesses say that there were a lot of bullets that were heard. And we also do not know, I've been trying to find out, for example, how much ammunition the shooter came to the school with. And did he have any extra magazines with him, gun magazines, ammo? Those are the kinds of things we're also trying to find out, Wolf.
We'll be getting more information in the hours to come. Susan, thanks very much. Tom Foreman is joining us now. He's been looking at the layout of this school. And what are you seeing, Tom?
You know, Wolf, Susan was just raising a good point there, as you have this whole time. Piecing all this together is grim and difficult work because there are so many moving parts to this equation. That's what investigators are trying to do right now. And in more than 30 years of covering massacres and school shootings, I'm afraid, I've seen this happen many times. The early hours, it's hard to know exactly what the timeline was, exactly how things unfolded, but we're piecing it together as best we can as well. So take this timeline as being a bit loose, but we'll work our way through it. About 9:30 this morning in this school, classes were underway here. They had a good crowd in there, about 600 students in the school, 50 faculty members, and at that time, a meeting had just broken out up at the beginning of the school here. There was a small meeting with the principal, the vice principal, a school psychologist, a few other adults up here in a room near the office, and school was underway. School actually started at 9:05, so at 9:30, about a half an hour underway, they had been going up there. So at 9:40-ish, as best we can tell, it's a little different depending on whom you talk to, sometime around 9:40 is when it would appear that this gunman enters the building. How? Well, we don't really know. Police have spent an awful lot of time today. You may keep seeing pictures of a black car right up here. They've been looking at that car right here. If that is connected to the crime, as we would think, and based on what the eyewitnesses have said, that would suggest the gunman came right in through the front door here. This little red part here is actually a sort of a covered walkway. He would have come right in through here as best we can tell, and everything that transpired seems to have been somewhere in this general area. It did not spread out through the entire school. Nonetheless, as soon as he came in, from all we hear from various people there, people throughout this entire building started hearing shots being fired. Some of them thought it sounded like hammering, some of them heard loud bangs, but some of them also knew what it was. By 9:41, we had calls going in to 911. The principal, vice principal, and school psychologist who were in that meeting came out and went toward the gunfire, according to a witness. They headed toward it, but only the vice principal returned, and the vice principal was wounded in the leg or the foot. It's not clear which when they came back into the meeting room there. Nonetheless, at this point, everything is clearly in the school getting very tense because people know that something is going on that's very bad there. Now, the timeline gets even looser at this point because we don't know how the progress of the gunfire went.